Good afternoon or good evening, everybody. Yat Shea, Jesse, Jim, Yin Shea, Donet and Schlinigi, Lashin, and Schlinton, and Bitly Butchin, Chidashi Chedo, Torijini, Dashinale, Nade, say I had then a shadow cashed Auto Department of Agriculture, Banashnish, as the Department Manager. So good evening, and thank you again to Navajo Sustainable Agriculture Project for providing this platform for the Department of Agriculture to present a variety of needed information, important information to share with everyone. I know that the last time I was on here, I had talked about the Agriculture Infrastructure Fund, the development from 2018 to all of the annual projects that were approved by RDC, and then also where the funding comes from for the AIF program. And I got to talking to Mikhail and then also with Michael with NSA regarding the flow of the programs that we will be providing while the webinars. We did start with AIF, and then to answer and introduce our producers here that are online to present, and then welcome our new PRF insurance agent, which is Native Land Insurance Services. The insurance agents are Brittany Begay and Dugan Kelly. We've been working with them, and you talk about a company that is very helpful, transparent, and gives you a better understanding of how the pasture, rangeland, and forage insurance program works. I just want to assure everybody that's online and all of our producers that, with Department of Agriculture, we're here to make sure we select the company that is going to provide the best for our people, not for ourselves here at the department. And that's what we are looking at, and that's how native lands has come to the nation. So moving forward, they're going to provide a presentation on how the indemnity payments work, and then how the nation is enrolled throughout the year, and then how the grids are working on the Navajo Nation. And Brittany and Dugan will provide a excellent presentation. I've heard this once before when they provided it for the tribal ranchers, and it was pretty cut and dry, black and white, no in betweens, and it's straightforward. So I just want to inform everybody why we're doing the change. And then also from there, we are going to be talking about the next following webinar about the rangeland, the forage, and then also the compliance. There's a lot of things that us Navajo ranchers need to do on our part to get into compliance. And also the bottom line is to save those rangelands that we have on Navajo, and to utilize all of our resources that we have for our ranchers. Number one, we do have nappy grazing available. How can the Department of Agriculture utilize the AIF funds to help you ranchers that have no outlet on the reservation? Your pastures, there's not enough grass. It costs a lot of money to haul hay. And then also, if you're going to put them there at nappy, it's a big difference from paying no grazing fees to paying, $30+ per month per cow. You want to do right by your animals, but you don't have the resources. And that's why I want to reiterate to everyone, that's why Agriculture Infrastructure Funds is available. When I came on board 8 months ago, this money has been here for 8 years, and that's your money. That's what I want to reiterate to everyone. And then again, thank you, Kelly, and then also Navajo Sustainable Agriculture Project for providing this opportunity for us to provide information to ranchers here. And then also I did see a few grazing officials on here. Thank you again for joining us. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to Brittany and let her provide the presentation about the pasture, rangeland, and forage insurance program.
Ja, she Brittany Begay Shia, Twitzoni Nishle, Osea Sheehan Bushishchin, Sheehan Dashachek, Ashia Dashanella, Sabadaga Dan Nasha. I've been an agent selling crop insurance since 2020, and I'm also an owner of Native Land Insurance. We founded this company in 2023. And we provide crop insurance. I'm also here with another agent, Dugan Kelly. I'll let him introduce himself as well.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having us. My name's Dugan Kelly. I'm a crop insurance agent, have been for the last 8 years. I live in Paso Robles, California, and I've been working alongside Brittany Begay for the last 5 years on native grazing associations, tribal ground, and such. So thanks for having us.
So Native Land Insurance was created to help Indigenous farmers and ranchers manage their risk. We work with USDA programs, and it was really created as a way to help support and inform tribal ranchers on these programs. A lot of the times, many of the ranchers that are signed up with PRF don't know how it works, or they don't know some of the options that are available to them. So at Native Land, we really, our main focus is integrity, hard work, client focus, respect, and compassion. We currently serve the White Mountain Apache tribe, Gila River Indian community, Laguna Pueblo, and Blackfeet Nation, and as well as the Navajo Nation. So here's a list of some of the insurance products that we currently provide. Most of these products are subsidized by the USDA. So today we're going to go over pasture, rangeland, and forage. We also offer livestock risk protection, whole farm revenue protection, multi-peril crop insurance, and pasture fire. So these programs were designed for commercial farmers and ranchers, and they were put in place by the USDA to help these ranchers stay in business and to mitigate some of the risks that they face.
So first off, what is PRF insurance? So PRF is an insurance policy that helps manage risk associated with the lack of rainfall. It's federally subsidized insurance program designed to protect hay growers and grazing operators from the lack of rainfall. And the deadline to sign up is December 1st. So what are the benefits? It protects ranchers from the unpredictable rainfall. There's no upfront premium. It's USDA subsidized. There's multiple coverage levels to pick from, so it makes it very flexible. There's no minimum acreage. Timely indemnity checks are issued 60 days after the end of an interval. And it can be used in conjunction with all your other FSA programs. The PRF is not drought insurance. It does not take a drought for pasture, rangeland, and forage program to work. All you need is a dry 60-day period where you have coverage selected.
So now we're going to go over some of the eligibility requirements for PRF. So on this call, I know there's Navajo grazing permittees who are on trust land. There's also tribal ranchers, and then there's also ranchers who might have a lease with like a forestry or BLM. So the eligibility for PRF is you must be a landowner or a lessee. and you must have a financial interest in the land where your livestock graze. So you also must own livestock. So these livestock must rely on the forage, pasture, rangeland for grazing. And hay ground is also eligible. Hay ground such as alfalfa fields. Again, you must own or lease the land where the alfalfa is grown. So, for example, if you have a lease from the BLM, you are eligible to insure your land since even though you don't own the land, you have a lease in your name, you're eligible to insure it. The same goes with forestry, or if you're a tribal rancher, you would have a tribal lease from the nation. So this is a brief overview of how PRF works. So of course, it all goes by precipitation, and NOAA is the I guess the operation that reports all of the precipitation for every grid. There's different coverage levels that you can select for your policy. And then from there, once you're signed up, you would receive an indemnity. So indemnities are a payment for your loss. So for example, a loss would be you don't receive your rainfall, your loss would be your grazing. So when you don't receive rainfall, you would receive a payment for that loss.
So here are the different parts of the PRF. So we have rainfall data, we have intervals, we have coverage levels, and we have grids. So what is a grid? So a grid does not follow any state, county, or any other boundaries. They are consistently sized across the country, and each grid is approximately 12 by 17 miles. So if you look to the picture to the left, those red lines that are a square is a grid. So if you look at those numbers, that's a grid number. So 28329 is a grid number. So if your ranch is inside that grid, then you'd be able to insure the area of that 28329. If your ranch went into 2 or 3 of these grids, then you could look at all 3 of these areas and choose one area to insure or insure all 3 areas, just depending on where your ranch lies in these grids.
Okay, so based off these grids, how is precipitation measured? So like I mentioned earlier, NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, actually measures all of their weather stations. They have over 9,000 weather stations throughout the United States. They've been collecting this data since 1948, so that's over 50 years of data that they've been collecting for this program. And that data is used to create an average rainfall amount for each grid. So each grid uses at least 4 of the closest NOAA weather station to determine the average rainfall. A smoothing technique is used. It's not perfect, but it's accurate and fair as possible because it's impossible to accurately monitor the precipitation that every ranch receives. So at the end of an interval, it takes NOAA approximately 60 to 90 days to finalize all of these results. So like I mentioned just a while ago, an interval. So intervals are 2-month periods, approximately about 60 days long. And on this list, you can see all of the intervals that you're eligible to insure. You can select a minimum of 2 intervals or a maximum of 6 intervals per grid. So in one grid, you cannot insure the same month twice. So for example, in one grid, you can insure January, February, March, April, May, June, but you can insure May, June, June, July. That's just an example of intervals.
So next is coverage options. So coverage levels determine the rainfall amounts where your policy will be covered. So an 85% coverage level would cover any rainfall that comes in below 85% of your average rainfall for your grid. Coverage level options range from 70 to 90% in increments of 5%. So how are indemnities triggered? Indemnity payments are based on differences between actual rainfall in the blue and expected historical precipitation in the orange. So if actual precipitation is below the elected coverage level in yellow, a payment is issued to the insurer. So the orange line at the very top, that is your historical average rainfall, and the yellow line is 85% or 90%. I don't know where it's at right there, but that is your coverage level. And the blue line is where the actual rainfall came in at. So you can see that your rainfall came in below your coverage level. So they're going to pay you for that interval because you didn't get your coverage level.
Okay, so we mentioned that most of these programs are subsidized by the USDA. So the reason why the USDA subsidized these programs is because ranching is an unpredictable industry, and they want to help ranchers stay in business by providing financial assistance through these programs. So subsidies help offset the risks associate with ranching. So depending on which coverage level you select, that determines what subsidy you would receive from the USDA. So a lower coverage level, you would receive more subsidy, but a higher coverage level, you would receive a lesser amount of subsidy. So the coverage levels range from 60 to 90, and then that determines your subsidy. So like Dugan was talking about, if a payment would be triggered. So payments are triggered when your rainfall is below your coverage level. So for example, say you had a dry January, February, and you would receive a payment for your loss. NOAA finalizes all of the data. It takes 60 to 90 days to finalize. And then from there, the AIP, the approved insurance provider, they would issue a credit to your premium. And once your premium is paid in full, then that's when you would start receiving the indemnities. So at the beginning of your insurance policy, the premium's not due up front. So you don't have to pay up anything up front. Whatever you make off of your policy goes towards your premium first. And once that is fully met, then you would start receiving benefits. And these are some of the important dates for the PRF program. So if anyone is interested in signing up for next year, say you own land or you have a lease in your name, the sales closing date for coverage in 2026 would be December 1st. Your insurance would start January 1st and it would go all the way through December 31st. The premium bills aren't due until September 1st. So anything you make from January to the end of July goes towards your premium. And if it's a dry year, your premium gets paid off before September 1st and you never have to pay your bill. But if it's a wet year, there's different payment options that are available to ranchers to help offset the cost of that.
So here's just an example. Example one, rancher Jake Thompson. So he's in McKinley County, New Mexico, got 15,000 acres of pasture. And his objective is to protect against dry weather forecast. And he wants to keep his premium under 10,000 and create a safe policy. So if you look to the left, you see that yellow or that white mapped out area, that's his ranch. So we find his ranch and we find the grid that it's in, 18691. We punch that into our computer program that has the historical data in it. And we look at the last 15 years of history. We spread our coverage out throughout the whole year and we look at the premium cost is $1.21 an acre. So if we insure 8,000 acres, his premium will be 9,677, which would keep him underneath that $10,000 mark for his premium. And if we look at the history, those green bars are what the policy paid net indemnities to Jake after it has paid the premium for him. And we look at this policy, and it has paid for itself 13 out of the last 15 years. He owed a premium in 2015 of $6,900. And in 2014, he owed the premium of $125. But all the rest of the years in the last 15 years, looking at the rainfall data, it has averaged paying the premium and paying a net indemnity to him for $9,500 and $99,530 a year on an average when we combine all those years together. So there's many different ways to set these policies up. We find a budget that you're comfortable with. We show you all your options of where your coverage can be and what the best historical scenarios are, and let you decide and help you understand what your policy looks like, and help on the decision making of how you want your policy set up.
Okay, so this is an example of another rancher, Sadie Brooks. She's from Sandoval County. She has about 17,000 acres of pasture rangeland. So the first thing we do is we look up all her farm track and field numbers. We map out her ranch, and from there we're able to see which grids her ranch falls under. So you can see it goes into 19291 and 19292. So from there, we kind of ask her, all right, what is your objectives with this program? Do you want a safe policy, or do you kind of want to be a little bit more aggressive? Do you have any budget for your premium? And what kind of coverage are you looking at? So from there, we created two different options for her. Option one is the 85% coverage level. So you can see that her premium would be about $1.16 per acre. And that would bring her premium to about 20,000. And compared to Rancher One, this one had more loss years. So determining whether a ranch is in good or bad grids is very objective. It's really up to you looking at these historical results. Sometimes some ranchers will look at the long range forecasts like this rancher did, and she'll say, I know next year is going to be dry. I really want to protect my ranch. So I'm going to go forward and buy this insurance because I know it's going to, if it's a dry year, I'm going to receive benefits and I'm going to be able to pay for feed for my cattle. So that's option one for her. It's more conservative. And then option two, still the same amount of acres, but we're moving up to the 90% coverage level. So the 90% coverage level, you'll see the premium go up and the subsidy will go down. So the premium actually went up about $6,000. And on average, she netted about $1,000 more than the 85% coverage levels. So the red and green bars are all net. So you'll never have to owe more than your premium. So here you can see in 2015, it was a very wet year. So she actually had to pay $21,000 towards her premium. And then in 2012, it was a very dry year. So she actually netted 50,000. So this is after the premium. So total indemnities that she received in 2012 was about 76,000. So it just varies on which coverage level you want to select. So for our clients, we always give them options, just depending on your budget, whatever you're trying to achieve. So In review of the PRF program, we kind of went over like an overview of all of it. There's a lot more details that go into the PRF program, especially with the Navajo Nation program. Any benefits from the Navajo Nation go directly to the AIF fund, and the nation also covers the premium themselves for the ranchers. So for the PRF, it's USDA subsidized. Most people call it drought insurance, but really, you don't have to be in a drought to receive a payment. It can be used in conjunction with FSA programs. So, for example, if you're signed up in the NAP program, you can also be signed up under PRF. You have the ability to set a budget, change your coverage levels, the number of acres insured, kind of like Rancher One did. They said, I don't want to spend more than 10,000. So we made that a priority not to enroll all of their acreage. You're not required to measure any rainfall in your area. Only the NOAA weather stations use their data to collect. And then the policy goes towards the premium first. And once the premium has been paid, then indemnities are sent directly to the insured. It takes about 60 to 90 days after the interval is finalized. And then these are all year-to-year contracts. So every year you can adjust how many acres you want to insure. Or if, next year you're thinking it's going to be a wet year, you don't have to insure all of your acreage. So if anyone is interested in any of our programs, can you still see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. It's on our website, right?
No, you still have your PowerPoints up.
Okay,
I can see your website address and your contact number, Brittany.
Okay, I'm trying to go to the website. Okay, here we go. So this is our website. And if anyone is interested in any of our products, we have a little information about each of them. So PRF LRPs is based off of the market prices. Whole farm is for commercial farmers. So is the multi-peril. I know there's a lot of alfalfa farmers who can benefit from the MPCI production. And then we also have pasture fire. So there's a little bit information about Dugan and I. And here is where you can contact us about any of the programs that we offer. So you just put your name in, your phone number, your email, your tribal affiliation, and any of the products that you're interested in. And then we'll get back to you within a week or so. So let me go back to my PowerPoint. And then if you guys have any questions about any of.
Let me
Go
hit
ahead.
the 2 questions that are on the chat box that came through
Okay.
halfway through your presentation. So Monique here are asking, what if your grazing permit is being transferred? Can we still apply?
So if they're on trust land, their acres are already being insured by the nation. So if you're off trust land, it's all dependent on the lease. So as far as the AIF fund, that would be a question for Jesse. As far as the permits, because I know there's a few, I believe it's the livestock management program right now for AIF.
Okay. All right. So the next question here, and it was given with a note. So Deidre Rogers. So this is actually Delegate Jesus. Is the Wolf Spring Ranch a part of the Navajo Nation package? We have cattle and bison within the ranches.
So this year, in the past, it was a part of this PRF program with the previous insurance company, but for 2025, Sam, he's the manager of Wolf Springs. He decided that he wanted to secure his own agent. So we, Jesse, Jesse, Jesse and Mike Colonna, they decided that it would be fine for him to do that on his own. So it's separate. All the tribal ranchers are not included within the PRF with native land. So we only insure trust ground.
Okay. And I did get another one that just popped through. I think she meant for this to go into the everyone's chat. Elvira, do individual farmers qualify on the Navajo Nation, or do we go through an ag department?
Yeah, so it just all depends on the land ownership. So if you're ranching or farming on trust land, the land is put in trust by the federal government or the nation. So no individual person owns the land. The only way you would qualify on your own would be if you are a lottee and you have a deed in your name, or you have a lease from the nation. So like you're a tribal rancher, then you're eligible to participate in these programs on your own. Otherwise, all the benefits go to the AIF fund, which the Department of Agriculture is in charge of distributing.
Okay. Let me just double check to see if that's all of the chat questions. Okay. If anyone wants to unmute themselves, you feel free to go ahead and ask any questions that you may have.
Good evening. This is Marjorie Lantana, Yacht A, to the two presenters and also Jesse and all the individual online. I have a couple of questions. We are tribal ranchers, and to my understanding, we are on a tribal fee land, and we are interested in this insurance for our ranch. But you mentioned majority that the trust lands are eligible. And then number two, you mentioned that maybe I just need a clarification that there's no upfront payment to sign up, and then we rely on our premium that's forthcoming to pay the to make payment. So if that happens, let's say if we don't pay upfront and we sign up, and then there's a premium that's processed and favorable, let's say there was no rain, and then does that mean that that premium will be deducted from the premium to pay that first part, and then also to pay the next interview? I'm trying to understand this. So will that work like that? And then number three, the third question is, okay, let's say we got lots of rain and we didn't pay upfront, and then there's no premium, and then who pays? You did mention there will be the Navajo Nation will pay, or who will pay on behalf of this if we have wetlands. And let's see, I think those are the three information I jot down. And thank you so much.
You're welcome. So your first point was you would possibly be interested. So like we did for those ranchers examples, what we do is we create a policy for them, and then we go over it. We go over the PR program with you. So whatever budget you have for your ranch, we kind of work with that. And then from there, as far as the premium goes, so you have say your premium's $10,000. Your premium starts in January. So we'll say January, February is a dry interval. So they actually pay you, we'll say $8,000. So that $8,000 goes towards your $10,000 premium. So it goes to there first. So you still have a $2,000 balance on your premium. So we'll say February or March, April is your next interval. It's also a dry interval, and you receive another $8,000. So that $8,000, $2,000 of it goes towards your premium, and then you have $6,000 net. So that $6,000 net goes directly to you. And then once your premium is paid for the year, you don't have to pay anything else. Anything you receive after that point goes directly to you. Hopefully that makes sense. And then as far as a year where it's really wet, say it's really wet and you don't pay anything towards your premium. In September, well, actually, we would inform you after the interval is completed. After every interval is completed, we reach out to our clients and we let them know how much rainfall they received, if they received any indemnity payments. And if they didn't, we let them know, hey, January or September 1st is coming up. You're probably going to have a bill due. So there's different payment options. They vary from year to year and based off the carrier, but usually we can set you up on a payment plan where they'll actually extend your due date from September to the following year in June. So they allow the rest of the year to pay off your premium. There is an interest charge. It's usually about 1%. But like I said, it just varies. Some carriers will charge $1,000 up front, and then they charge you interest per month. So it just varies on the carrier. So like, for example, last year, some of our ranchers, it was pretty wet. So some of our ranchers had to get on a payment plan. But by the end of the year, we kind of went into a dry period. So a lot of their premiums were covered in October, November, and November, December. So they signed up for the payment plan in September and they never had to pay a bill. They just let the rest of the year pay it off. Hopefully that answers your questions.
Okay. I'm just confused. It just appears like, well, the example you gave me, that 8,000 for January, and February, and then that leaves a balance of, well, it was, let's say 10,000 was the premium, and then the 8,000 was supposed to be paid out, but it paid. I don't know. I'm just very confused on this one. And I kind of understood, but I'm confusing myself here. And the only thing is, like, it just sounds, well, the other question, I guess, any time that, well, the Navajo Nation pay, help the rancher pay during the wet season.
Okay, so right now in the legislation, it only states that the nation is going to cover trust. At some point, the council could amend that legislation and include tribal ranchers, then they would be able to cover their premium. But at this point, it's not in legislation, so it would be up to the tribal ranchers to talk with their council delegate and let them know that we need assistance with this PRF program. If you guys could help us included in this legislation, that would be really helpful for us. I know I didn't answer that. I forgot to answer that question. Was the
Okay.
nation only covers the trust ground? The tribal ranchers are not included, unfortunately.
Okay.
But,
And yeah,
but
I guess that was the first question
yeah,
that we are on fee land.
yes.
Okay.
Hey, Marge,
Well,
this is
thank you.
Jesse.
Hi, Jess. Uh-huh.
Oh, let me help answer that and give you a little bit of clarity on what you're asking as far as the Navajo Nation paying for individual policies. Remember legislation, Navajo Nation legislation CO-5716. That legislation allows a nation to participate within this program. And it sets the grounds, the rules. And in that legislation, I could see how it was confused. With the tribal ranchers participating in the nation paying for their premiums. It does in the legislation allow allotment and then also fee lands to participate on the basis that the allottee and the lessee have their own individual policy. So from there, that's how Department of Agriculture was able to assist the individual tribal rancher on fee lands participate within their own policy. It is a great program, and then some of those grids that are located over there are great grids, but you also have those grids that are not so great, to where the rancher, no matter, they receive rain or they don't receive rain, it's not going to pay, it's not worth it. And that's where the issue came into, with Department of Agriculture intervening and halting, because we need more information off these grids to determine, is it feasible? If we're going to be paying your fees, I'm just using you as an example, Marge.
Mhm.
Say your policy, the premium is going to be $8,000. But then Brittany and them, Native Land, they set up the policy to where the policy, just like your vehicle, we're going to select certain months out of the years to cover. Okay. And so and then also it's very important for you guys to know when you guys receive rain on a good year, on a bad year, on a moderate year. That way, that helps you with your coverage and the amount you're going to coverage. We know when monsoon comes is in June, July, all the way to the end to September on a good year. But if we remember and look back to 2020, did we get rain during monsoon? We didn't. We didn't get rain the year before, the year of, and I think the year after, I can't remember, but we had no rain during those monsoon times. So if you guys didn't insure then, then you're at a loss. You could have made money there. And so that's why it's important to play it safe and not gamble, cover the whole year. And that's why we have them here. Now, going back to the issue of Navajo Nation paying, it is possible. But like I said, we need to be smart on this end too from the department to make sure that we are being responsible with the people's money. So is it more feasible to pay an insurance premium of $8,000 each year, knowing that it's going to be a gamble? We may get it back, we may not. Or do we just take that $8,000, appropriate it in the tribal ranches infrastructure dollars and put it towards the improvements that you are going to be doing? And that's what the agreement also that you guys had signed, stating that those monies would go back to those ranch improvements. And I know you've done wonders on your ranch, Marjorie. And, there are periods when, especially in you guys' situation, you guys are constantly hauling water you guys got to supplement. And so you guys are breaking even in your production every year. This money is supposed to be used to help you get a little bit up to stay in the business. They don't want you to, and we don't, as Department of Agriculture, want you guys to have to sell off a cow because you need to feed the cows because you don't know if there's going to be rain, you know? So that's what we're thinking about on here, the long term, the bigger picture of it. So with the tribal ranchers that didn't get a chance to sign up because it's not black and white in the legislation saying that the Navajo Nation will utilize CHISN funds to pay for your premium. And for me to feel good about it and to where you guys aren't going to be, you know, getting the short end of the stick and having to pay, I want it to be black and white and saying, yes, the CHISN funds are going to be used for individual policies for these tribal ranchers, as well as maybe allottees. And that way everyone's treated equal. I hope that makes more sense. It's a program that needs constant revisits to completely understand it. I'm just like you. I was just like you, Marge, when I first heard it. I confused myself more than anything. But give it some time and you can contact me if you guys need further explanation on the legislation.
Well, thank you, Jesse. The other question is that the national NOAA, what is you called it? Where is this weather station at? I know one of the rancher was very concerned that the weather station is like maybe 100 miles away from where her ranch is. And where her ranch is located, it's been dry. But she was informed, well, this weather station says you got some moisture. So is there a weather station that can be set up in and within, like, maybe I know we don't have weather station here in Eastern, especially in the tribal ranches area. The closest we see is probably Farmington and maybe Grant or something like that. So I guess I'm very concerned about getting an accurate um, weather station uh, on the area where we are. So that's a concern.
Yeah, so the weather stations, there's 9,000 of them throughout the United States, and they've been collecting this rainfall for the last 72 years. So it's a long-term average that they're going off of. So it's that you're right. There might be a gauge that's 100 miles away. There might be one that's 30, and there might be one that's 150. And what they do is they pull off of 4 gauges that are the closest to the center of your grid. And then there's a mathematical equation that they compute to come up with the average for your grid. So there can be times where the gauges got the rain and you didn't, and there'll be some times where you got the rain and the gauges didn't. But it does average out. So let's just say that one of your gauges got 5 inches and the other 3 gauges got none. They average that out, and the one that is the closest to the center of your grid, they use the most weighted average for you. So just because one of your gauges got a lot, not necessarily means that you're going to be washed out. So it is an area based, and it is a long-term average at the same time. So it's not perfect, but in the long run, it works out. And they wouldn't be able to put a gauge on your ranch because then you wouldn't have that 72-year average to go off of.
Yeah, and they're all this NOAA is actually put in place by the USDA. So they're kind of like a separate entity, who is, I guess, unbiased, and they do it on their own. So as a company, we aren't in charge of any of the gauges.
Thank you, the presenters from Native Land. And I guess my question will probably be mainly to those decision makers that are online to start beginning to plan to put up weather station in this big northwest area, because I sat in New Mexico categories meeting, and they were installing weather station way out there off reservation. And then I said, wow, this is really an open spot here. We would like a weather station here in this spot. And then I was told, okay, sovereignty, you have to go back to your Navajo Nation to get that installed. So that's just probably a native insurance. I know that's outside your responsibility, but I see some people that probably can start discussing this with the Navajo Nation. Well, thank you so much, Kaha.
Thank you, Marge. I just want to
Mhm.
also touch on that, about that grid. You're talking about a neighbor rancher not receiving, what they said that they received to not have their indemnity payments come through. Those are the things that we need to know from the department. Okay, so maybe these ranchers within this grid, probably not a good idea because it's not accurate. And especially those ranchers that are living by the mesa. In that case, the Navajo Nation, we do have the Livestock Management Incentive Program, and you can submit your tally count to qualify. And it's on a scale of 1,500, 2,500, 3,500, dependent on the sheep units that you have that are allowed on your grazing permit. So tribal ranchers, you guys have your self tallies. Those we accept, and we could work with you, and you can get an application in March. Thank you again.
Thank
Jesse,
you.
sorry. Jesse, did you hear the question about if a permit is still in transfer?
Okay, yeah, I was just gonna address the questions on the chat. As if your permit is being transferred, I understand, the long wait, but also I'm trying to work with the ranchers that are in that situation. I know that BIA in some of the agencies, they do provide a letter stating that the permit is being transferred, who the original permittee is, and then also the one that the person who it's being transferred. To me, I look at that as a document, although it doesn't say that in the code, but I will accept those as long as your census numbers are matching. Those we could it's a case by case basis. But I am not strict on it has to be in your name and that's it. Go ahead and contact our office here and get an application. Thank you. Okay, and then I see another question, is Wolf Springs Ranch a part of Navajo Nation package? We have cattle and bison within the ranches. Thanks. Okay. So, they are not part of the package due to the land status. Wolf Springs Ranch is not trust land. Wolf Springs Ranch is fee lands. So therefore, the ranch there themselves have their individual policy. And because it's fee land and the legislation does not state that it has to be native land to be the insurance agent, they are free to choose their insurance agent. And Mr. Oh gosh, he's gonna be upset. Mr. Deswood, I'm sorry, Mr. Deswood, you can contact him at the Fish and Wildlife Department to, talk about that further. That is his program. It is an awesome program, and they are insured, just not with native land.
Okay. All right, so let's see if we have any more questions. Shailene Paul, this is more of a comment. NTU had one, I believe she's talking about the weather station. Yes. It's used for NTU and NAU environmental science projects. Renee Benali, you should be able to install a rain gauge. There is a community rain gauge that records data, and another individuals can sign up with the CoCoRaHS program to obtain precipitation data within their local areas. Yes. Shailene, how is Navajo Nation or NNDA going to research which ranches to pay for premium?
Hi, Shay. The really the research, it doesn't have to be too extensive. That's why we have native land, to let us know which are great, which grids are going to be beneficial, and then also work directly with the tribal ranches. Like I said, it seems to be those ranchers that are located right by the mesa, they're the ones that don't receive it. So, that's enough justification saying, to sign these ranchers up with the AIF program. And then these would be signed up with the PRF, with the CHSN fund. So there's that distinction. And then also just we're going off of the expertise from the insurance agent to finalize and to assist with these determinations. But those that, wish to, and we do have a couple ranchers out there that make choose to pay for it themselves because they feel as if that's their duty, which we well respect that as well. And, hats off to them for being independent in that way.
Okay. Do we have any more questions from our audience tonight? You can insert your questions in the chat box, or you can unmute yourself. We'll take a moment to wait for some questions. If not, then we'll move forward. Okay. All right. So I guess that will conclude our presentation for this evening. I just want to say a big thank you from Brittany and Dugan for coming on here tonight and providing some information on your insurance program. So I really appreciate it. And if I could get a copy of your presentation slides, we always have our presenters provide us a copy so that way we can include it into our website. And if, some folks are missing this webinar, they can always go back to the website and retrieve your PowerPoint presentation. To everyone on here, if you guys have pretty much logged in at the end of our webinar, no worries, because all of our webinars are recorded and they will be edited and put onto our platform sometimes next week. So with that being said, thank you for our presenters for coming on here tonight, and Jesse for answering some of our folks' producers' questions. You're always helpful in kind of clearing everything up. So making it more, we all tend to take a while to comprehend information. So it's helpful from you to clear some of that, some of those questions up, so I should say. But other than that, we'll go ahead and complete our presentation here tonight. Brittany, you're more than welcome to stick around We're just going to be discussing some upcoming events. Oh, before I let you guys go, I did say that I needed you guys' feedback. So a pop-up have pretty much landed on your screen. So if you don't mind, if you guys can complete that poll for me, I greatly appreciate it. If you are not logging in like from the chapter area, just go ahead and put down what county you're from. If you're, not on the reservation and you're not part of a chapter affiliation. So just go ahead and include what county you're from. So with that being said, while you guys are filling that out, I'm going to, let's see, share my screen once again. And if you guys have any questions, they did have their contact information up there for quite some time during the Q&A. So I'm pretty sure you guys have their contact information. So I'm going to move forward with our upcoming events. So our first event that's coming up is this Friday, and this is a co-partner event with Dene College Land Grant Office. This is one of my workshops that I appreciate so much. So it's more of like hands-on demonstrations on traditional foods and so forth. So this is going to be the Spring Food Summit, and like I've mentioned, it's on March 21st. It will start at 9 a.m. and end roughly around about 4:30. So this is going to be located at the North Dene College campus gymnasium. If you guys are not quite familiar with the area of Shiprock, they do have two Dene College campuses. So one is located behind Bashes, and that's considered the South Campus. And the North Campus is going to be towards behind the hospital. So that's where that that event is going to be taking place, is behind the Indian Service Hospital. But if you guys have any questions on this event, or you need help registering for this event, here are the two ladies that are going to be running the workshop on Friday. So if you want to get a hold of them, Miss Beverly Maxwell is your go-to person, as well as Kelly. All right, so for all of my ranchers on here, we do have a sire selection webinar taking place on March 25th. And this is going to be presented by one of our folks coming from North Dakota State University, Lacey, and she is the livestock management extension specialist. So if you guys haven't picked out your bull yet, I'm pretty sure you have, but you just want to get more information on sire selection to give you a heads up for next time around of selecting more bulls for your herd. Scan that QR code right there to register for this webinar. Like all of our webinars, they always take place at 5:30 p.m. Mountain Time. So go ahead and scan that QR code. If you are logging in from your phone, just head to our website at nsa.nmsu.edu. Under upcoming events, all of that information should be on there as well. So if you're pretty much sticking around towards the end of the month on March, we do have a basic conservation planning workshop that's taking place at Herfinot Chapter House. This one goes for some grazing permittees around the area, but it's pretty much, open to everyone. So if you are a person or a rancher grazing permitting, like I mentioned, that have a grazing permit in the Northern Agency, and if you're looking to have assistance in completing a conservation plan, definitely come swing on by at Herfinot Chapter House on March 27th. We will be there from 10 to 12 p.m. So we'll be presenting on identifying natural resource concerns, creating maps on soil vegetation report, and developing a management plan for livestock. So if you're going to be around, stop on by if you're interested on, wanting to learn how to complete a basic conservation plan. Okay, so I do have three big events that we do have three big events going on for the month of April. And I just wanted to share with you all. There's two identical flyers that are in front of you right now. So the one is taking place on April 17th, and this is going to be at Baja Lynch Chapter House. If you guys are not too sure where that is, that's in Vanderwagen. And we also have one on April 18th, which is going to be taking place at the Cow House auction in Kirtland. So for those of you that are going to be more closer to Fort Defiance or Sanders region or Rama, this is pretty much your go-to area if you want to be part of the sheep shearing and vaccination workshop. This is going to be taking place on April 17th, which is closer to you. If you are interested in wanting to do the hands-on shearing, I put this on here to, dress comfortably, have the right proper shoes, no open-toed sandals. You're gonna, get stepped on. We don't want that. So wear proper clothing, wear proper shoes. And if you want to actually shear, if you could bring your shearing equipment, if you just want to bring your hand shears, that's fine. If you want to bring your electrical shears, make sure that you have your extension cord with you. So we do have one professional shearer that's going to be coming out, and he's going to be showing us the ropes on how to properly set sheep and how to safely, sharpen your shears, and as well as your blades, how to properly, effective shearing patterns. That we also have some folks that are coming down from Utah State University, some of the sheep and goat specialists, to talk about preventative measures for sheep parasites in our region that we should look out for, especially for internal and external parasites that are going to be coming up in the spring, and how to treat some of your lambs that are pretty much dropped to ground already and what they need to get as far as boosters. So it should be a really great workshop. I really, implore all of you guys on here, if you are within the Eastern Agency region or the Northern Agency region, definitely swing on by and attend these workshops. So it should be great. We should have around about 10 to 15 sheep to shear, so it won't conclude until all those sheep are shorn, so you have plenty of practices. So if you guys don't mind, come on by. The QR code, like I said, if you're logging in from your laptop, bring out that phone, scan that QR code, and go ahead and register. We should be emailing everyone out a week before that they have registered, and that we ask if you are attending still or not. As well as if you can't scan the QR code, head to our website and I'll include that at the end. All right, another one big last event for April that's always pretty much on the radar for every single year is our livestock first aid training workshop. So this is definitely one of those times where, if there's a wound that we can pretty much mend on our own, we want to learn how to do that. So this is the time that if you guys want to participate, definitely do it. But this training is going to be presented by Dr. John Wenzel. He's no stranger in these parts. He's pretty much well known in our area. He is the NMSU Extension veterinarian. He does such a phenomenal job in educating our producers down here on how to mend external wounds, and we're going to be practicing how to suture minor cuts and wounds, as well as learn about trick testing and so forth. So if you guys want, if we do have this at Baja Inlet chapter, and this is going to be from 8 to 5. And if you guys want, go ahead and scan that QR code. If not, head over to our website, and registrants are going to be receiving one livestock bag at the end of the workshop. It's going to be more per family. So, and lunch will be provided as well. So if you guys can register, that will be great. And it gives us a good amount of how many people are going to be attending. All right. So I didn't really talk about this in the beginning. We do have a conservation planning program that is in collaboration with Dene College Land Grant Office. This is pretty much free of charge that we offer for our producers who have grazing permits in Eastern or Northern Navajo agencies. It's pretty much a requirement under the BIA that you do have a conservation plan. So we know how it can be very comprehensive, and it will take, quite some time to get used to it. But we do have technicians that are pretty much out here working with producers every single day. So if that is something that you're interested in assistance for one-on-one, or you want to request a workshop for your chapter or for your grazing permittees, definitely let our specialist know. And her name's going to be Shirley Toth. Her email is just right in the blue corner. So it's toth@nmsu.edu. All right. So we'll go ahead and wrap up right here. So if you guys are not already following us, we're on Facebook. So under Navajo Sustainable Agriculture Project, you can find us there. We release all of our monthly upcoming events every single week. And like I've mentioned from before, all of our webinars are recorded and posted on our YouTube channel. And we are a little bit behind our bi-monthly newsletter, but it will soon be out. So if you have any questions, I'll be looking at your additional comments and responses. I rely on those, so thank you all for filling that out. I see a lot of people fill out the polls, so I really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And I hope to see you guys tune in our other future webinars or in-person workshops. So with that being said, thank you all for tuning in tonight, and I hope to see you guys all in our upcoming events.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mikkel Silversmith. I am the project coordinator for the Navajo Sustainable Agriculture Project. In short, we're called the NSA Project. Our program is pretty much funded by the USDA Outreach and for Native Farmers and Ranchers and Veteran Farmers and Ranchers program. So at the NSA, our primary goal is to support producers by providing resources that help improve their operations, both profitability and sustainability. So we deliver, in-person workshops and webinars that are tailored to producers' needs based on feedback that we gather from each session. Some of the recent programs that we have started back from January was a lot of food preservation, a lot of livestock record keeping. We had lambing and kitting webinars. We had composting webinars. Then we also have some of the, such as the NMDO, the Agriculture Infrastructure Fund. So we do also have nutritional webinars on cattle. Then we also have some sire selections that's coming up for a lot of ranchers that are tuning in here tonight, and some other more upcoming events that we're hosting for next month and the following month. So you guys pretty much are aware, if you have been on our platform for quite a long time, at each webinar that we have hosted, as well as in-person events, we have these evaluations that we give you. We just ask for, a minute of your time to fill that out, and that feedback gives us a lot of information, and it will tell us to show us how we can better help you in providing resources, educational purposes. So better to improve your operations. And we're pretty fortunate to, partner with some of our great partners on here. You already see their logos on a lot of our flyers. That's from Dene College Land Grant, our NMSU CES specialist. Both of them play a crucial role in helping us develop these agriculture resources for our producers. So another central goal of ours is to help increase our producers' knowledge in USDA programs. All of you on here are pretty much aware about the NRCS, the FSA, the RD, and the grants and services. So such as forage drought loss assistance, crop disaster assistance. Through our virtual resource fairs, we've given, local field offices from NRCS and FSA the platform so ranchers and farmers can learn how to access support that aligns with their needs, from applying through EQIP, through NRCS, and drought loss assistance through FSA. So pretty much we will be gearing up to provide something like this for in-person, and also services providers such as our folks that are tuning in on tonight from an NDA office. Lastly, I'll wrap this up. We focus on increasing local fresh food production in the areas that we serve. This is McKinley, San Juan, and Cibola counties. With our gardening projects, we collaborate with the experts from COPE that you see her logo right in the corner. That is the great Miss Carol Palmer, who led questions on food preservations and garden planning and so forth, and as well as our NMSU CES specialist, such as Dr. Walker from NMSU, who provides us presentation on topics such as spring vegetable gardening, composting, and so forth. So overall, we are happy to share more in-person workshops tailored to gardening and crops. Simply share with us of your feedback at the end of this session. If that's the type of webinar that you want to see more of, is this the type of webinar, insurance programs that you want to see as well? What do you want to see more from Navajo Nation Department of Agriculture? So all of those feedback, all those comments mean a lot. So if I could just have a moment of your time at the end of the presentation for you guys to fill that out, I would greatly appreciate it.